Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are so excited to have Dr. Lisa Mascall joining us once again, our acupuncturist, herbalist, and so much more. She is the owner of Hackensack Family Acupuncture and Wellness. For those of you that may not know, Hackensack is in New Jersey, and it's not too far. We're traveling around the tri-state, and it's exciting that she's back today. We're going to learn more about her, the practice, and obviously all the benefits that acupuncture can bring. How are you today?
Good. Thank you so much.
Well, pleasure having you back. And for those new-time listeners out there, would you mind just giving us a little overview about yourself and what it is you do to start?
Sure. My name's Dr. Lisa Mascall. I am an acupuncturist. I'm an herbalist as well in the Chinese medicine tradition. I have my practice in Hackensack, which is, again, right outside of New York City in New Jersey, and I really focus my energy in my practice on treating infertility. We also treat, other aspects of women's health, like hormonal things, migraines, thyroid, all of the stuff. Everything from 12 years old until menopause and beyond. So it's pretty fun stuff.
Fantastic. And I know you have a deep background with acupuncture, and I know, infertility is one of the things that you really, will touch upon today, because that's something that you've been very helpful with in the lives of so many people. But besides that, there's more to this. Looking on your website earlier, there's, the endometriosis. There's women who have the polycystic ovarian syndrome. There's fibroids. Could we just maybe elaborate on that to start and talk a little bit about how acupuncture works to help a woman with these conditions?
Yeah, for sure. These are some of the more difficult difficult things to treat in women's health, and I feel like I kind of got started down that road because of that, because they're really difficult to treat, and these women are, sometimes not happy with the options that they're given at their OBGYN or that they're at their general doctor. So I feel like they're coming to my office in droves looking for help. PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids, all of those kind of things. Like the options are basically the birth control pill or surgery. And then, also some people are using metformin to treat PCOS. But again, the majority of women in my office are trying to have a baby, so obviously the birth control pill is not really an option for those people. Surgery isn't either, really. Obviously it is, but you don't want to have surgery if you're trying to have a baby. It's just not something you really want to do. So this is kind of how I ended up evolving into this type of practice, because these women kept showing up in my office, and I was just like, wow, this is like, something that needs to be addressed out there. So I started treating them, and just became very good at it. Acupuncture is kind of extraordinary medicine, I think, and using it to treat women's health has been so much fun. Besides acupuncture, I also practice herbal medicine, which is a big part of my practice. We haven't talked much about that, but for any woman coming that's coming for one of these more complex things, like infertility, PCOS, fibroids, endometriosis, adenomyosis even, we're using herbs along with acupuncture. Because in most situations, people don't have time or maybe even the money to come 3 times a week. So in order to be able to treat these complex issues, I'm using herbal medicine and then acupuncture maybe 1 or 2 times a week, whatever people can handle. But, in all situations, I'll just try to meet you where you're at. If you can handle 2 times a week, come 2 times a week and herbs. If you can only handle 1, come 1 time a week. Just make a, decision on what you can handle and start there. I just try to kind of meet everybody where they are and give them the best treatment that they can.
Beautiful.
handle.
So obviously it's customized to each and every one. Do you ask that they come in and obviously I'm sure they have a medical record, right, to discuss some of this stuff, or they just tell you what they have?
Yeah, so I have them give me their blood work, but actually that is a new thing that I've been doing in the last couple of months, because generally, this is about Chinese medicine or Asian medicine, and the way of diagnosing is completely different. So, right, I'm not using blood work, I'm not using ultrasounds or anything like that. It's a completely different way of diagnosing. So I don't really need that stuff to be able to do my treatment. But as time has gone on, I've started to use it more and more. It's really, it helps to kind of refine my diagnosis in Chinese medicine by being able to see somebody's blood work or their, MRI or their whatever, their x-rays or something like that. But it's not required. I can absolutely do a diagnosis and a treatment without any of that. But again, lately I've been using it just to kind of make things better.
Got it. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. And, is it something that, the acupuncture and holistic medicine can actually heal, or is it kind of like a Band-Aid? Is it helpful? I mean, do some people really get cured of these things? Some people may want to know they've gone the medical route and let's try something different, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, I want to answer that question in the best way possible, but it's a pretty broad question. So if we just pick, for example, PCOS, which is something that I see a ton of, because, again, it's one of those things that there are just very limited options for out there. Unless you're going to take the birth control pill, metformin, there's only a few options for PCOS. So the idea to be able to kind of get to the core of PCOS or any type of metabolic syndrome, it will take a long time to treat. It will definitely take a long time to treat. And I find that in general, not just for PCOS, but for, the other things I treat, when people get to the point where they've reached their goal, which is to get pregnant, or in the case of fibroids, for example, would be to stop the heavy bleeding and the anemia, and to stop, the part that's really disrupting their life. Once we get past that, which is usually in the first, I would say, 3 months, then they're not really concerned about the rest of it. People are mostly concerned about what's disrupting their life. Is PCOS disrupting their life to the point that they're not ovulating and they can't get pregnant? Or fibroids disrupting their life to the point that, they're bleeding so heavily each month that now they're anemic, and, besides the fact that they have, no life for 5 to 10 days out of the month, that kind of stuff. When I am able to kind of correct those things and get them on the path to complete recovery, they usually stop coming after what they really want is accomplished, which is to get pregnant or, to stop the major disruption of their life. So to answer your question, it's absolutely possible to get these things to the point where they don't come back.
Yeah.
But I see very few patients continuing to that point.
Beautiful.
I would say those things would be a year's worth of treatment.
Yeah.
Most people are most concerned about the symptoms that are disrupting their life. And when those things are gone, they're usually done with treatment.
Got it. I remember because about 15 years ago, I had irregular periods, didn't know what was wrong. And then that's when the doctor diagnosed me with the PCOS. And then I had fertility problems, and that was a whole journey and craziness.
Oh, yeah.
But no one ever suggested an alternative medicine. Of course, they said right away, let's go in and let's do a scraping. And I'm like, okay, whatever, sure. And I did it, 2 or 3 times, and it didn't help right away. But years later, I was able to get pregnant. But still, I know there's different options for different people, and more aggressive, less aggressive. And I love hearing those success stories, right? You've helped people through PCOS and they've gotten pregnant, right? Afterwards?
Absolutely. PCOS, I would say, is the diagnosis that walks through the door more often. Diagnosed and undiagnosed. That is the one. That one really will keep you from getting pregnant. Mostly it's because you don't ovulate on time or in a predictable fashion. Makes it very difficult to get pregnant if there's no egg there. So I would say that PCOS is probably the one that I've had the most success with, because more people with PCOS walk through the door.
Well, good to hear, and I love knowing that this is a natural treatment. And by the way, you can go to the website, request a free consultation. It's hackensackfamilyacu.com. Also, there's a phone number on the site. Can I mention that?
Yeah.
201-561-1240. And social media pages you want to share? We just have to take a quick break. So anything else you want our listeners to know before we do continue?
Just on Facebook and Instagram. I would say on our Instagram is where we kind of share a lot of success stories and some, educational type stuff. I think it's really good for other people to see when there's success in our clinic. So
I agree. Sounds good. All right, everyone, we're going to stay tuned, and we'll be right back in under 2 minutes. Please stay with us.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
My dad used to say that.
Sure, yeah. It's from Geico.
Yeah, whenever I would ask my dad for life advice, he'd sit me down and say, son, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. And look at me now, a well-adjusted adult with a drawer full of plastic bags I'll never use.
Okay, I'm confused. Was your dad a licensed Geico agent?
Nah, he was just a real good dad.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You don't become a 117-year-old automaker in this country by refusing to change. The Ford Motor Company does not resist, deny, or ignore change. We pledge to make our most iconic vehicles electric, to use 100% renewable energy across all global manufacturing plants by 2035, to stand for lower greenhouse gas emissions, to stand with Americans and for the planet.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the mytuner-radio, online radio box, and simpleradio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Hey, do you want to know the secret to self-confidence, self-love, and self-awareness? Well, your thoughts, like everything in the universe, are energy. They vibrate at different frequencies depending on the nature of your thought. When you decide to change your level of consciousness, your outside circumstances will change drastically. I am Sandra Robinson, founder of BeyondFocus.org. As a personal development life coach with years of experience, I will help you explore how to refocus and realign your life with certainty. Remember, you are just one choice away from achieving your dreams.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show, Hackensack Family Acupuncture. We are joined here once again by Dr. Lisa Mascall. She's our acupuncturist, herbalist, and just curious, what is the your overall, the training behind this? How did you discover? I know you had your own share of journey, your pain and journey, but could you just share that with our listeners? What inspired you to get here?
Yeah, for sure. I was a physical therapist for 10 years before I went back to school to learn about acupuncture. And I was working primarily in orthopedic type medicine. So, basically what you think of physical therapy, which is sports med or joints and bones type of arena. And the more I got into it, the more I started to kind of realize, wow, there's really more going on here than just the muscles and the bones and things that you can X-ray and MRI and CAT scan. There's more than just that, because things just didn't line up sometimes with looking at the MRI and looking at the person and looking at the X-rays or whatever kind of imaging you had there in front of you. I really wanted to know about kind of unseen aspect of it, if that makes any sense. That's essentially what acupuncture teaches you. It's more or less energy medicine. I mean, as time goes on, we're learning that it's energy is a big part of it, but it's not the only thing. So that's kind of how I got that's kind of how I got started in acupuncture. I just wanted to know more.
Got it. All right. Well, I know that you mentioned you were sick all the time, right, growing up, and you dealt with a lot of issues like that. By the way, so did I. I finally, after all these years, I'm 46, and I finally just got approved for immunoglobulin replacement therapy because I have low IgG and all this stuff, and I don't know if that's even going to help, but right, there's something about our immune system, especially since, the pandemic, that everyone's so concerned with boosting it and making that more of a safe space in our body to help us, right? Does acupuncture actually help boost your immunity?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's actually one of the things that I don't treat it directly, because you rarely ever have somebody walking through the door saying, I want better immunity. That just doesn't happen for me. Maybe it happens for other acupuncturists, but it's one of the fringe benefits. So that would be one of the things that I hear my patients saying, like, for example, somebody who's been coming for, trying to get pregnant, infertility, and she would say something like, oh, I didn't even realize it, but I noticed that I didn't get sick this whole winter. You know what I mean? Like, or I didn't even realize it until now, but wow, I'm sleeping so much better. So I would say increased immunity is definitely one of the, what I call fringe benefits. You're probably not what you walked through the door for, but it's one of the things that will change with, ongoing treatment. I would say anxiety, sleeplessness, or, maybe poor sleep, just like not deep, restful sleep, getting sick often, digestive issues. These are the fringe benefits, Not exactly coming for that, but it's one of the things that will improve as treatment goes on. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button. I'm like, why didn't she hear me? I said, could you share some of your client stories of some of the benefits of, how you've helped them along the way?
Absolutely. So, for example, I'll use the example of PCOS, since it's something that we've talked about a little bit already, and it's something that I treat a lot. I had a patient, for example, this summer who had already gotten pregnant once. Like, she was not my patient at that time. She used IUI to get pregnant. Literally said, I can't get pregnant on my own, and I've used IUI to get pregnant the first time, and I'm going to use IUI again, but this time I'm going to use acupuncture to help prepare for it, right? Like, I want to go into the IUI better than I did the first time. So for those of you that don't know what an IUI is, it's just like IVF, except they're not taking the egg out. They're just, putting the sperm in, actually, instead of the natural way. They're actually putting the sperm in. And there's, some medicines that go around it, right? You're taking some meds for a couple days. There's a trigger shot, and, it's a monitored process. So she was preparing for that to do it a second time because she was ready to have her second child. And she started to come to acupuncture. And actually, she was not that consistent. I usually request that my patients come at least one time a week consistently. She was not that consistent. I think she came maybe 6 or 8 times over the course of like 3 or 4 months. And then I got a message from her. We have a secure messaging system, so even if I haven't seen a patient in a long time, they can shoot me a message. It's called almost like email, except that it's HIPAA compliant, and I absolutely love it because I can kind of chit-chat with my patients even if they're not coming in for visits. So I got a message from her, and I hadn't seen her maybe a month, that she had to cancel her IUI because she's pregnant. Like, we weren't even really shooting for that. I mean, that kind of stuff happens all the time. It's actually my favorite type of helping a patient when they come in, really not with the idea that they're coming in to help getting pregnant. They're coming in to support their IVF or their IUI. They're coming in to kind of boost their IVF or IUI results, and then they get pregnant, and they get to cancel their IUI. And it's a shock to them, and it's not really a shock to me, but it's always kind of like, oh, yay, So that happened this summer. Actually happened again in maybe like September, to where she was coming as a support, like acupuncture was supporting her IVF or IUI, and then she ended up getting pregnant without it.
I love hearing these success stories. It clearly keeps you, loving and doing what you do. This is awesome. And by the way, let me just ask you, when you, talk about acupuncture, explain how it's done. Some people get scared of the needles. I know we talked about this last time, but don't get scared. Tell them they're really tiny and explain the process.
Extremely tiny. Okay, so the process is, if you're a brand new patient, we'll do a longer evaluation because I'm really trying to get to the root diagnosis, right? The root diagnosis can cause all kinds of seemingly unrelated symptoms. So I go through a kind of systematic systems review and ask detailed questions about all of your body processes, right? I'm asking about your digestive process, your elimination process, your sleep, your stress level, anxiety, mood issues, all of these kind of things. And then after I get all those questions down on paper and I start to see kind of a root diagnosis emerging, this is when we go to our treatment. So you'll get on the table, always very comfortable. Tables are usually heated. The room is heated. You're in, you can wear your sweatpants or you can change your clothes however you feel comfortable, just so that mostly I use the arms, the legs, and the belly or the back. Once you're on the table, I will put in, anywhere from, 10 to 30 needles. But the point is to balance the imbalances that I find in that initial evaluation, in that initial consultation, all of the questions. Something kind of comes to the surface when I'm asking those questions, and that's what I'm looking for because I need that to know how to form the treatment. It's not the same treatment for everybody, and it's not even the same treatment for everybody with a particular diagnosis. All of those people could have gotten to that diagnosis with a different route. So that initial evaluation is really, really important.
Beautiful.
So you're laying down. I swab the acupuncture points that I'm going to use with some alcohol, and then we start putting the points in. The needles are extremely thin, and I do have all levels of needles. So, for example, on the off chance that I'm treating a, burly man, it's not going to be the same needles that I would use on a small, thin woman. It's just not. They have different skin, and so I don't need to use the same needles. That being said, I can use any needles on any person. So if you're particularly scared, then I'll use a special kind of needle that is even more thin, coated with silicone. It just makes it so smooth going in. Anyway, they're super thin.
Got it.
Rarely feel anything. Once the needles are in, I'll turn off the lights or turn down the lights. I walk out of the room, and you're there by yourself for about 30 to 40 minutes. Most people just kind of fall asleep. Yeah.
Beautiful. And let me ask now, how do you integrate? You also talk about herbal medicine, and could you share, what that really is, and give me some background of, the healing and the herbs behind it that people are taking or drinking. How does that part of it work?
Yeah, for sure. So I practice herbal medicine with nearly every patient. Unless you're asking for no herbal medicine, we're doing herbal medicine. I don't do it on the first day. Your first day is just for acupuncture. On your next appointment, we'll start herbal medicine. I'll send you home with it. So basically, it is supporting whatever diagnosis we're treating. And again, I find that diagnosis when I do my evaluation. It's not the same as the diagnosis that you walk in with from your doctor, if you have one. It's a Chinese medicine diagnosis. And the acupuncture that I give and the herbs that I give are to that end, meant to balance the imbalances that I find in the initial evaluation. So they're anything from plant medicine to cockroaches, actually. I don't even think I have that in my office, but Chinese medicine does use some bizarre things sometimes in the treatment of disease. But herbal medicine is definitely a part of my practice. It's something that we start on the second visit, and I usually prescribe about 1 to 2 weeks worth of herbs at a time. And that's mostly because if you're giving herbs for a certain reason, if they're doing their job, you're not going to need the same herbs the next week. Do you know what I mean? Like, if that's what it's meant to do, then you may not need the same herbs the following week. You may step up to a different formula. So I just go kind of week to week. And I would say if you've been coming for 2-3 months, now I might start to give herbs 2 weeks at a time instead of 1 week at a time. So it's something like that. I'm not giving herbs for 3 months and saying come back at 3 months. It just doesn't work like that. So I'm constantly reevaluating things.
And your expertise in this obviously is amazing, and I'm sure you have people coming to you from all over, right? I mean, I know you're based in Hackensack, New Jersey, for those that are close, but do you have clients, out of state as well?
For sure, from New York City, definitely from New York City, and I've definitely gotten a few from Pennsylvania as well, and Connecticut. Yeah.
Ooh.
Now that you're asking.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I've gotten some from our bigger tri-state area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's a pleasure having you here joining us. And hey, if you want to bring one of your clients on the show next time or whenever we speak again, you're welcome to do so to get their take. I just saying, no, not necessary, but just to hear what it's like. If someone wants to share their experience live, they're more than welcome.
Well, that's interesting. I will ask around.
All right. Sounds good. Well, you have a fantastic day. Let's remind one more time how we can contact you.
You can contact me by going to the website, which is hackensackfamilyacu.com. Phone number is 201-561-1240. Best way to make an appointment is just to go to the website and hit that book a free consultation, and you can make your appointment directly from there through our online booking.
All right. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you back, and looking forward to next week's conversation. You have a fantastic day. Happy acupuncturing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.